Good morning. Good morning. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association, and also I co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And as part of that collaboration last year, reached out to over 100,000 dads and fathers around the world, directly and indirectly, by the way. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And Ryan Knight, who is our co-host, he'll be with us probably around the bottom of the hour on Fridays for the next little bit. So if you're looking for the more handsome guy, he'll be here soon. All right. So just want to do something new today. And for the next few Fridays, we have a sponsor. For the next few Fridays, we have Ebony Occasion. And just want to do a little bit of a read for them because they've been so kind. At Ebony Occasions, they want to be your number one choice for Afrocentric greeting cards, born out of the frustration of not being able to find a culturally relevant card. Ebony Occasions was established in February of 2020, and they love hearing about how their customers felt giving cards that reflected them and about the positive response from the card recipients. So from birthdays to baptisms, showers to sympathy, whatever the occasion, they have you covered. And you have the little picture there, and that is the lady who is the owner of Ebony Occasions. There we go. Share. And I just want to do one other thing, just put up a little contact information if you want to get a hold of them. Website, ebonyoccasions.com, Instagram at Ebony Occasions. So we like to thank a Black-owned business for supporting what we do on the Morning Vibe. And let's get back to here. So yes, Friday, and it is October, especially in the Toronto area, and the weather was really nice over the last few days, but it's noticeably cooler. It's actually Thanksgiving Day weekend coming up, and it's the first Friday of October. Like, where did September go? But you know what? It's First Fridays and Financial First Fridays with our friend, Mr. Wayne Harris. Good morning, Wayne. How we doing, my brother?
Good morning, Doctor. Good morning. How are you?
Outstanding, blessed, highly favored, magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem, and Black-alicious.
Black-alicious. Yes. I love it.
You know, and it's interesting when I say that now, most people react to good, but one person, I can't remember what's saying, you know what, I got a little concerned about that. So I have to have an offline conversation wondering why they have a concern about Black-alicious. But that's a whole other conversation itself. What's been going on in Wayne Harris world, as we say on Instagram?
Wayne Harris world has been on fire, been very, very pleasantly busy with the business and taking my wife out for a little company retreat out in Niagara. Shout out to Craig, the winemaker at Trius, who showed us a great time. So this is Canadian product out there in Niagara. A beautiful brut champagne, or can't call it champagne, sparkling wine, because only champagne can come from Champagne, France.
Yes.
And a rosé that was to die for. So we picked up a few bottles and had a great meal out there last weekend. It was nice.
And we'll get to our main topic today, credit and debt management. But you have always been a go, go, go guy.
Mm.
But share with our audience how important it is to take breaks.
Oh my goodness. The more breaks you take, the longer and further you can go. So some people will do binges. They'll get on the computer at 6 a.m. and they'll go hard till 5 p.m. and they're burnt out. And they wonder why they're burnt out. But if you were to go from 6 to 6:45, get up for 5 minutes, get back on, go from 6:50 till 7:50, take a 5 minute. You could go all day and not be super tired because those breaks re-energize you. You stood up, you walked around, you did something, you go outside your front door, go in your backyard. If you have a backyard, or go on your, I will say veranda, as per my father, go on your veranda.
Yes, I still use that word veranda instead of porch. Yes.
Exactly. Take in some air and then get back to it. You'll find you'll be able to go longer. This break was, I put in my goals that I need to have a date night with my wife once a week. And that's supposed to be on Thursdays. And every now and then something comes up that is mega opportunity. And I look at her, she looks at me, she goes, go. So when we get,
she knows the look, right?
She knows the look. So when we get an opportunity like we did to spend a couple of days out in Niagara, hotel room, she didn't have to cook. I do all the driving. It's great. So we take those opportunities and we try to do those probably once a month. And if the date nights, especially if I miss a date night or two, I bank my date nights and then I'll do something like what we did last weekend.
Excellent, fantastic, and always have in my mind, how's your dad doing?
He is much better now.
Good.
I can tell you that, being a part of the squeeze generation where I'm looking after my adult kids, not really looking after them, but kind of just monitoring them at this stage. But he's on the other end of the spectrum, and he is being well taken care of, and he's actually happier than he's been in a long time. So I'm relieved and pleased.
Great to hear.
Situation right now. Thank you.
Great to hear. No, that's important. Family is very important. I guess in the second half of my journey, it really became important, especially as a Black man, how important family is.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. So we're going to be talking about credit and debt management today. And before we went live, I said, yeah, this is a great time to talk about it. Thanksgiving's coming up. Well, you said Black Friday is coming up, Christmas is coming up, etc. End of the year is coming up. So let's kick it off. What do you want to start off when talking about credit and debt management today?
Well, great points. I believe that living in the most expensive city in Canada, Toronto and or the Greater Toronto area, people are being squeezed. The odd time I go and do shopping, I'm like, what? How much are bananas? What? How much are blueberries? What? Look at the size of those strawberries. They're pinched. How much do they want for them? Come on. It's out of control. Listen, gas went up 16 cents in the last 2 days.
I know.
10 cents one day, 6 cents the next day, just in time for the long weekend. I'm like, could it be a coincidence? I don't know. I'm not going to say anything. All I'm telling you is that it is getting harder and harder to live in this city if you don't have strategies on how to increase your cash flow or reduce your expenses. And credit is an expense. So what we're going to do is try to give you a 360-degree review of what credit is, what it isn't, and how you can manage it and put yourself in position so that when things come tumbling down, like the economy is tumbling down now, you don't have a bag of credit that you have to service with you when your income has been impacted. Anybody who's been through COVID, who was what I call a non-essential service. So a non-essential service is somebody who is subject to the government whims, and the government will say, today you're an essential service, tomorrow you're closed. Wow, think about those people. So first category of people, essential service, frontline. Hey, thank you for your service. We're talking police, we're talking paramedical, we're talking healthcare, LCBO, we're talking beer store, we're talking cannabis, Home Depot, Canadian Tire, Loblaw, the big grocery stores. Everybody was open. Thank you for being open. But what about all the little guys on Main Street who are all shut down Don't worry about wear a mask. Don't wear a mask. Come in a full body condom. You cannot shop at the store. These guys were crushed, and they had no. When you think about risk management, what's the best that can happen? What's the worst that can happen? What's most likely to happen? They never considered the government would shut them down as part of their risk mitigation strategy, and they all got blindsided. So my job is to show you that should this happen again, or whether it happens or not, your credit is in control, and you're in control of your bills. So let's take it from the top, Dr. Vibe. What is credit? If you have people chiming in, everybody put in your thoughts on what you believe the definition of credit is.
And and I was just you're reading my alleged mind. I'm gonna say to you, hey people, if you have questions or comments, please, I'm monitoring the chat as we speak. So whether you put in or not, let's just roll with it, Wayne, and I'll just monitor and put it up in real time. Here we go. Go for it. Let's go.
Honestly, credit is access to funds from a third party that you promise to pay back at an interest rate, right? To make it simple. So someone's going to give you access to funds with you saying you promise to pay it back, and they're going to charge you interest for the most part in order for you to get access to those funds. Pretty simple. All you have to do is use it and pay it back. Use it and pay it back. So let's talk about the five C's of credit. So the first C of credit.
I just want to interrupt. We had someone who's watching who had saying credit is borrowing currency, access to other people's funds.
I like it. Latanya, gold star. Well done. Exactly.
Here you go.
I don't have the money. You have the facility. I'm going to use your facility, and I'm going to pay you back in some form, either a fee or interest, depending on if it's a charge card or a credit card. The difference between a charge card and a credit card we'll get into. So the first C, 5 C's. The first C is character. Character. I'm lending you this facility to borrow on because I believe you will pay it back on time, in good order. So I'm testing your character. Okay, 1. 2, capacity. How much debt do you have compared to how much income you have coming in? If that number is too high, you have limited capacity. And in order to get things like mortgages or to afford cars and finance cars, you need to show you have the capacity to pay back the money that you are borrowing from these funders. Third C, capital. How much money do you have? Because if you don't have any money, I may charge you a little more for me to lend you my money. Because how is it you are so and so age and working for so and so long and don't have any savings? Might lead to your character being a little bit weak as it relates to money. 4, collateral. What do you have? You have gold, you have jewelry, you have cars, you have houses, you have assets that are appreciating in value, you have gold. What do you have that I can feel safer in lending you my money? Because I know if you do not pay me back, I'll have access to those assets of yours. Let's talk about that. And the 5th C is conditions. What is it you're using the money for? You're using the money to start a business? You're using the money to buy a car so you can Uber? You're using the money to buy a house so you can rent it out? Why are you using the money? And when the lenders look at that, they look at what you're doing with the 5 C's of credit, and then they make a determination on whether they should lend you money or not, and if they're going to lend you money, at what level of interest or what the conditions are going to be for them to lend you the money. Does that make sense, Dr. Vibe?
Well, again, you're reading my alleged mind. I think very few people have had the 5 C's of credit. First of all, heard of it. Second of all, broken down. So people have to realize now, when I want credit, all these things are taken in consideration, and you have to sort of do a self-assessment on each one of those C's.
Right.
So when you're not getting a loan, you should look to the 5 C's and say, these are the factors that may not have allowed me to get that money that I was looking for.
Correct. So let's go back to young Wayne with his low top, high top, trying to look like Big Daddy Kane or that guy from De La Soul, 30 years ago, 30 plus years ago. And this
Yeah.
kid, he was MAGA, 170 pounds, he was a flyer, he's playing ball in, shout out to Lawrence Heights, and he's playing ball in Lawrence Heights. And this kid gets a Bay card, because he got a $500 limit at the Bay. And let me tell you, every Saturday night at Studio 69, I had something from the Bay, no doubt. All right. I go in there, had my 16 pleat baggy pants, like MC Hammer, white
What
socks.
do I have to pay you to see some of those pictures?
Vibe, they're in the vault. You'll never see them.
Well, that's what I tell people. They say, can we see pictures of you with hair? I said, no.
There is no evidence that we even existed before social media.
Okay. Stop. Continue on before we make this a comedy fest.
So this kid, of course, my shirt is untucked and almost reaching my knees, because that was the style back in the day, right? So I got the baggy pants on. I got the white shirt on with the collar, maybe a little print on the side, a little bit of leather. These shirts back in the day that you're getting from Stitches, baby. Stitches, Yorkdale. That's what I'm talking about. Shout out to Stitches, Yorkdale, who was great. But between the Bay and Stitches, I would take my Bay card and I'm out. I'm going out on the town and I'm buying clothes for the weekend. And then I went to Humber College. Shout out to Humber and Humber Hawks, 3-time champions when I was there in basketball, men's basketball. And I go and get a card from CIBC, because they were in the foyer at the college just handing out credit, buddy, like Skittles, bro. And I went out there and got me a credit card in 1992, 30 years ago. Well, guess what? That card kicked off my credit history. The Bay card and the CIBC card. One from a national retailer and one from a national bank. Those two things set me up with credit. And my credit score started at 900. Well, guess where it went to? All the way down to 5 and change. You know why? Because no one told me the second part. When you get the credit card, you must pay that bill, and you must pay that bill on time. What? You must pay the bill. That's your character. You must pay the bill on time. So there are 5 things that make up your credit score. And I'm going to show you those 5 things. Well, not show you, I'm going to tell you about it. The first thing, 35% of your credit score is determined by your payment history. What? 35%? So
How
think
much?
about the time. Yes, buddy. Yes, buddy. I'm telling you, no lies. 35%. So you cannot be late on your credit payment.
Wow.
Listen, if your credit card's with Bank A and your bank is with Bank B, there's going to be some delay in processing. Get that bill to that bank 24 to 48 hours before it's due. Why? Because it's in processing. You don't want to be late. 35% payment history.
Wow.
So when I was out there, saying, I'm not going to pay this because so-and-so disrespected me, they said, no problem. We'll just hit your credit. So when I turned 26, 1994, 28, I'm going to buy my first house. They look at me and go, oh, we see you had some problems with the HBC card. What? You can see that? We're going to talk about the credit bureaus in a bit. You can see that? Yeah, we saw that. We see you're better now, but you haven't been better long enough. Payment history, boys and girls, 35%. Second thing, how much do you owe? How much do you owe on the card? 30% of your score is determined on how much you owe. So think about this. A card that has a $1,000 limit should not be utilized more than $350. You should not have more than $350 on a card with a $1,000 limit. Otherwise, your score is going to drop. So I've had cards where they were max to the max to the max. I had $1,000. There was $999 on that card, or more than $1,000. They let me go into overdraft if there's such a thing. But I was right up there, like Eric B. and Rakim. I didn't know the ledge, right? I was right up on it. Old school. Shout out to Eric B., my favorite rapper of all time. All right, so I got 30% on how much I owe. Boys and girls, keep your utilization, the amount of space you have on your card, keep it at 70% or more free space on your card, and your credit score will stay high. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Don't be anywhere near the limit.
Okay. Right there. Again, how many of us are given that information? Because and it's wonderful that you're sharing with us basically what they know, then what they're not, for whatever reason, not telling us.
Listen, this is another thing we as people have to understand. There's a little something called internet. You can find most of the information, if not all the information. I'm telling you can find it in video, audio. You can find Canadian information. A lot of it's American, but you can find Canadian information as well. So the information's out there. We have to be proactive, and when they say on the airplane, when the plane loses compression, the compression in the plane is going, the mask's going to drop. When the mask drops, what are you supposed to do?
Take care of yourself first.
Put your mask on first so you don't pass out. Same thing with credit. Same thing with everything in life. You have to be in charge and personally responsible for saving yourself. How about this?
Can I just interrupt? The Finance IQ Cam says, yes, many don't know that utilization or about utilization.
Yes. Finance IQ Cam. That's a mouthful, but you are correct. But you see your utilization on every bill. I have $1,000 limit. How much is my balance? I have a $10,000 limit. How much is my balance? You can do the math. Top number over bottom number. That's how much my percentage is. Pretty simple. Okay. So the next thing we want to look at is, do I have any kind of installment credit? So what kind of what's my, we'll talk about that in a second. But we're looking at credit history.
What is installment credit?
We're gonna get to that. But the third piece for credit, for 15% of your credit score, is credit history. How long you've had the credit. I still have the CIBC card from Humber College from 30 years ago because it establishes my credit history as a 30-year history. I hear people, oh, I'm gonna listen to so and so on the internet. He told me cut my cards. Do not cut your card. The older the card you have, 15% of your credit score is determined by that history. So you want to keep the cards as long as possible. Now, if the card has a big annual fee, and if it has a really terrible interest rate, maybe you don't want to use that card too much, but that card still counts towards your credit history. 15% is a big deal. 15% is a big deal. So you want to keep those cards, keep them in zero balance, maybe use them once or twice a year just to keep them in the game. Use it and pay it off, but you want to keep your credit cards. You don't want to get rid of credit cards. If you can find a way to keep your credit history and change cards with the same bank with a no-fee card, then do so. Say, listen, I'll change to your new card bank, but I need you to keep my credit history. If the bank agrees to that, then you say, okay, I'll go to that card. I don't have any annual fee, and I still have my credit history. 2 thumbs up. Let's do it, and keep that card and move on. The next thing is the mix of credit. Mix of credit is a type of credit that you have. So there's revolving credit. I buy something on a credit card. I pay monthly. But then there's also, don't pay a cent events. That's also credit, right? And you pay nothing for 12 months or 2 years, and then you have to pay all of it or get a big hit or start paying interest. Then there's things like cars that you finance. This is installment credit. So installment credit means we have predetermined what your payment is going to be every month. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, and you have chosen by signing the contract to pay this thing every month for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. I've seen 84-month financing on cars. Bro, that car you'll be able to sweep up with a dustpan after 8 years. What are you talking about?
Just want to interrupt. Just an interesting fact. I was just reading an article this week on CNBC. The average monthly car note in the United States is $700 a month.
That's right. People want baller rides. They've been watching too many BET videos. Right? People want to. I'm going to use all of it. My kids are going to see this one day and go, Dad, why did you use that word? I'm going to say people want to floss.
It's true.
Maybe flossing is 20 years old. I don't know. People want to be fresh. That's 40 years ago. People are saying fresh.
Yes.
Right? Listen, whatever you want to do, you cannot be buying things and paying for them on a monthly basis and putting yourself into more and more debt. Debt is a modern day slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Understand? When they know they got you with big fat mortgages, and they know they got you with big fat car payments, and they got you with big fat whatever you're financing. Listen, now you have to work at that place you don't want to work at. Now you have to take those licks from that boss you didn't want to take licks from. Why? Because you have obligations above and beyond your basic needs. And the last thing is new credit. So as you add new credit to the mix, you start putting weight on how much debt you can get into. And they go, this guy's asking for new credit. Why is he asking for new credit? Something must be up. I don't know if I'm going to offer him that card at a $15,000 limit. I'm going to offer it to him at $5,000 because I want to keep him out of trouble so that my other creditors don't get hurt by this guy getting this new credit card. They're all looking out for each other. They're not looking out for you per se, but they're looking out for each other to make sure that you can service the debt to the other people who are already you're in debt to. So does that make sense?
Just want to interrupt. Finance IQ Kansas. I was trying to tell a friend to know the rule of thumb when purchasing a car, which leads me to ask you, do you have a general thought process if someone wants to buy a car?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If you can buy the car 2 times over, you have enough cash to buy the car 2 times over cash, then buy the car.
Okay.
Oops. Not what they wanted to hear. Sorry.
I knew you were going to come straight. Hey, no
Right?
problem with that.
Not what they want to hear. Here's the deal. This is a very big city, and getting there by public transit, once you pass Etobicoke to the west and you pass Morningside to the east, getting around in the city is brutal. East-west is probably easier than north-south, but this city is poorly designed. We know we need a subway across King Street. We know we need a subway across Front Street. We know we need a subway across College, right? But we only have one at Bloor because that was the hub 50, 60 years ago when they built it.
Yep.
Right? But they haven't, I mean, the extensions they're doing now, anyway.
That's another conference.
You need a car in Toronto if you live outside the Ring of Fire. And the Ring of Fire is if you live north of Eglinton and east of the Don Valley and west of the 427, you probably need a car, right? And if you're going to get a car, you should be able to pay for that car cash.
Yep.
New cars depreciate like rocks. Depreciation means they lose value immediately when you pull them off the lot. So my recommendation is never buy a car that's younger than 4 years old, right? 4-year-old car, you're good. 6-year-old car, even better. Why? Because a 4-year-old car is at the end of warranty and may need to be fixed. Whoever fixes that car will drive that car for another 4 years problem-free. A 6-year-old car has already had those repairs done because it wouldn't have made it to 6 years if those repairs weren't done. So a 6-year-old car probably has all those 4-year repairs already done, and you're picking it up cheaper than you would a 4-year-old car. 10, 20% cheaper. So let me ask you this. We're 2022. Is there any shame in driving a 2016 Lexus?
No.
In 2022? Would you even know? Right? Would you buy a 2016 Toyota Camry? Still a pretty good car.
Okay. So interesting. We got some comments coming now. Fitness IQ Kansas 4-year-old car. Okay. And then Hayden, who's a regular contributor, please speak more on credit card companies looking out for each other before us.
Right. So this is my personal opinion that people who understand the game take care of the game. Just like in the NBA, all the owners look out for the owners, right? They look out for their players, but in the end, when the players go on strike, they look out for each other. Yeah. Yes or yes. Same thing with credit card companies. They're looking to make sure that you can service what you already have, and then they're going to add more weight because they know that you're going to default on them and everybody else. So they're going to add more weight. They're going to meter you down to a certain ratio between how much debt they think you can handle and how much income you have. And they're not going to go beyond that because they know they put everybody who's already a creditor with you in jeopardy, including themselves. So that's how they look out for each other. Okay. So
I got another question for you if you want.
Yeah, man, let's go.
Okay. Roger Dundas says, what about leasing versus buying?
Nice. Yeah, leasing versus buying is a this is the holy war, right? This is the holy war, right? This is whether you say chicken curry or curry chicken, right? It's the holy war. Leasing versus buying. Shout out to my Guyanese brethren and with the chicken curry. Anyway, leasing is.
I don't believe you went there, but I know you. So
let them come. Let them come. I'm not afraid. Okay. I have Jamaican friends. I'm not afraid. Leasing should be done when you have a business and have enough revenue in your company that a business expense like a lease makes sense. Leasing is for business owners. Full stop. If you're an individual without a business, a T4, or in the United States, a W-2, you're a T4 or W-2 employee, and someone else is taking taxes before you get paid, leasing is not in your best interest. But people have been using leasing to get access to better vehicles at a lower monthly cost. Because the leasing says the money that you would have put in down payment, we don't need, because at the end of the lease, we're going to take that car back from you. Or you can buy that car from us at whatever's remaining. And most people will choose to hand the car back. So you get nothing. It's renting. So it's like going to any one of your rental car companies at the airport and driving that car for 4 years and handing it back. You have no equity in a lease. You just have the use of the vehicle. So I want you to think about leasing from an accounting perspective, that you are using the lease to give you access to the vehicle, but the vehicle should be tax deductible, a business expense. And if it's not, you should not be leasing. If you're going to financing is fine. New car financing is going to give you a lower rate because there's so much fat in a new car. So the car is very expensive. So I'll give you 0% financing because I want you to get this car off my lot because I'm paying for the car. But financing a car usually also doesn't make a whole lot of sense because, again, you're not getting any tax deduction. You're paying for the car for 4 or 5 years. And at the end of it, yes, you own the car, but how much is the car worth after it's been depreciated after 4 or 5 years? Now, if you had the car for 84 months of payments, what is that car worth 7 years old? Well, you just go to Auto Trader and see what the 7-year-old car looks like. If it's more than what your payments is going to be, maybe you don't want to do it. Maybe the car's not going to be worth it, right? Okay. I can buy a 7-year-old one for $10,000. I'm going to buy a new one for $40,000. Why not just buy a 7-year-old car for $10,000 cash and have no payment? And again, buy reliable brands. Shout out to Consumer Report, which I used many, many years. Yes. If I want to buy a vacuum cleaner, I went to Consumer Report. So Consumer Report will tell you what to buy and what the most reliable cars are. Now, not everybody. Most people who want to buy a certain car already know I'm buying it for style, or I'm buying it for reliability, right? Or I'm buying it for safety. You know what the criteria is for the car you want to buy. Japanese, number 1 for reliability. Number 2, Korea or American, depending on what you want to look at. Anything after that, all German or European cars, after their first 3 years and they're out of warranty, good luck. Because every part is coming in from Germany in euros, my friend, and you're going to pay for those cars. Ask me how I know, because it's that part. It's coming in from Germany. It'll be here in 2 months. We'll call you when it gets here, and it's $1,000 versus that part coming in from Alliston, Ontario, and I'll have it for you today, and it's 60% cheaper. So what do you want? Do you want a floss? Do you want reliability? Do you want safety? Do you want gas mileage? Lots of criteria for why you want a car. But buy versus lease, very simple. You have a business and you have enough revenue to offset the cost of the lease. However, you're going to do that with your accountant, because I'm not one. Leasing makes sense. Individuals who do not have a business should not lease. If you're looking to lease, it means you can't afford the car you want. And if you can't afford the car you want, you need to save your shekels and go buy a car, cash money with no payment. And you should buy the most reliable, safest car with the best fuel efficiency, with the best style that suits you.
Wonderful. Let's do a reset here. We're here with Wayne Harris, talking about credit and debt management on Financial First Fridays on the Morning Vibe. And he's bringing it, as always, just some update with some comments here. Roger saying, been using Consumer Reports for 30 years now. Drive a Subaru.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Subaru's a bad ride. Listen, all they do is full value. All they do. So question for Roger, did you buy it new or did you buy it used?
I'm sure he'll answer. And then Latanya loves curry chicken, JM.
Thank you, Latanya. That's how I say it too. Now I'm gonna be perfectly transparent. I've never been to Guyana. Now, I've eaten Guyanese food for many, many years, but I've never been to Guyana. I've been to Jamaica a couple of times. So I got to go to Guyana and ask somebody on the ground why they say everything backwards. Kind of like in Quebec, it's everything's backwards. But let's talk about something else.
So Roger says, yeah, new leased company expense.
Thank you, Roger Dundas. Buyblacks.com, shout out.
Yes.
All right? Roger knows the deal. So let's talk about it. There are 3 risks with credit. 3. The first risk is credit spread. I want to know if this interest rate that you're giving me is going to stay static, or if that interest rate is dynamic. Will it change? Will it go from 4 to 5 to 6 to 7% like a variable mortgage? Ask anybody who has a variable mortgage now. It's credit spread. Ooh, variable mortgage was the way to go. Boy, I'm paying 1.5. What are you paying? I'm paying 1.2. What are you paying? Oh my God, 1.4. Everybody was excited. Oh, nobody's excited now. 2 years later, boy, people are getting licked down 4%, 5%, 6%. Stress test. People who could afford $1 million house before can now only afford a $750,000 house today. Why? Because the interest rates have gone up. The spread is not in their favor.
Right.
So there's a risk there. Credit spread. Then there's default. Hey, what's the chance of you not paying this thing? I'm watching your history. I'm watching where you've been working and how you've been working for how long. You're a volatile guy. I'm going to have to increase my interest rate on you because I have a feeling that you might default. So default is a risk to the lender. So they're looking at your ability to pay your bills and how many times you've not paid your bills. And the third thing is downgrade. Hey, you were a baller 3 years ago, but now you're not. I've downgraded your credit worthiness, which is your ability to borrow at the best rates. The more credit worthy you are, the lower the rate. The less credit worthy you are, the higher the rate. The higher your credit score, the more credit worthy you are. The lower the score, the worse you are. Here's a magic number, boys and girls. If you want to get a loan from an A lender is the biggest banks in the country. You know who they are. If you want to get access to A lender, there's mortgage brokers probably in here who will dispute this, but my number is 680. If your number is above 680, 670, 680, you can probably get access to one of the best banks in the country. If you're below 680, you're going to go to a tier 2 lender, which means you may not have as much flexibility and your rates might be a little higher. Although the tier 2 lenders can get the same rates as the big banks, usually they might have other things that make it favorable for you to deal with them versus dealing with the big banks when your score is lower, right? Because they're taking on more risk. You have less character. So if you have less character, they're taking on more risk. They're inverse. You have high character, I take less risk. You have low character, I take high risk. If I'm going to take high risk, your rate's going to go up. Make sense?
Absolutely.
All right,
Got it.
All right, so what else? We talked about credit. Now we have a credit report. So we have 2 reporting bureaus. We have TransUnion and we have Equifax. And these 2 are the ones that have your credit bureau, which means they have your credit history and they know everything about you from a credit perspective. They know your SIN number, they know where you work, they know how many cards you had, how many you opened, how many closed, they know how many cards and installment payments you've made over the years. They know everything about your credit, but they may not always be right. There might be more than one Dr. Vibe, and some of yours is bleeding into his and some has bleeded into yours. And, my name is pretty generic, so maybe it's another guy like me, who has blonde hair, blue eyes, and maybe the same height, maybe has the same birthday even. I've seen that. But he's not me. He's killing my credit. I have to check this thing on an annual basis at a minimum and make sure that everything that's on there I can vouch for. And if there's anything that's not on there, you can dispute it. Talk to me about it.
So question for you then. Do you get charged for getting your credit report? Do they charge you?
Only if you want it online. If you want to mail it or talk to them over the phone and you validate yourself, you can get it for free. But mail has always been the way. You can get it for free from both bureaus. Just mail it in and say, listen, I'd like to get my credit report, and they will send it to you, and you will see where you're at. There's also a couple of apps out there. There's Borrowell, and the other one is Credit Karma.
Yeah.
And they will have your credit bureaus, both bureaus on there. I keep forgetting which one is which.
So are the apps as accurate as the traditional Equifax and
Ish. They're accurate-ish because it depends on when they did their soft pull on your credit. So when they do, so there's hard pulls on your credit and there's soft pulls. Hard pulls on your credit will lower your credit score. Soft pulls will not. It's inquiry, a soft pull. Yeah, I'm gonna touch it, but I'm not gonna lower your credit score by touching it. Right? A hard pull is like a mortgage or a car financing or all appliances at the brick. That's gonna be a hard credit hit on you for you to get access to the credit. But a soft inquiry doesn't cause a credit hit. Okay. What you want is you want your people to understand that credit is nothing to play with. That's the bottom line. You will do things in your 20s and your late teens because you can only get credit when you're 18. You can do things that could cause you to not be able to get a house in your 20s or the car of your dreams at the rate you want. So the credit bureaus are very, very important. TransUnion, Equifax, you can mail it in, or you can use the two apps, Credit Karma and Borrowell, and they will give you an idea. So if one says you're 750 and the other one says you're 800, okay, you're somewhere between the two. But if one says you're 500 and the other one says you're 800, I would be calling, sending a note to my credit bureaus to find out why my credit is so different on one bureau versus the other. That means they have something on my record that's causing my credit to drop. I need to know what it is. And if it's factual, I will deal with it. And if it's not factual, I need to get it off with the dispute process.
Excellent. Okay. Keep it going.
All right. So a couple of things people will hear about in terms of remedies. So you're in bad shape. You can't pay your bills. Here's what I would recommend. If you are in trouble and you have credit mounting on you like crazy, there are 3 remedies you can do. Right? People say, listen, I'm going to declare bankruptcy, right? I'm going to get out from under all this weight. Well, bankruptcy may not be the best thing because bankruptcy basically says, I'm going to be a trustee, bankruptcy trustee. I'm going to take on all the creditors and I'm going to work out a payment plan for you. I'm going to destroy your credit for 7 years. Your credit's going to be trashed for 7 years. But your creditors are going to be off your back because I'm going to deal with that on your behalf. I'm a bankruptcy trustee. I'm going to take care of that for you. You continue paying this amount to me, not to them. I got you. But you could end up paying 105% of what you owe in bankruptcy. You still have to pay it, eh? You're just paying it to the trustee. You're not paying it to the creditors. No one's calling you. All right? No collections and all that stuff. All that stuff stops because the trustee is in between you and them. And they will have you pay the trustee and not pay the creditors and so on and so forth. It's more complicated than that. We can get into that on another show. The second thing you need to look at is consumer proposal. Consumer proposal, unlike a bankruptcy, will actually reduce the amount that you owe to creditors. So they will negotiate. The person will negotiate on behalf of you with the creditor to say, listen, he owes $10,000. I'm going to give you $2,000. They said, listen, this guy has paid us nothing. We'll take the 2, we're out. So the person who's doing the consumer proposals, the trustee here, is basically saying, hey, I'm going to make you an offer, right? And I had a lady, she had $42,500 in debt.
How much?
$42,500, and she was working at the airport for $16 an hour as a security guard. She would never get out from under that debt.
Wow.
So what we did, we put her in consumer proposal. We got all that debt wiped out from $42,500. Dr. Vibe, we got it down to $8,500, and she had to pay $150 a month for 5 years to get rid of the $8,500 a month with no interest being calculated.
That's phenomenal. That's a huge success story.
She went, it saved her life, bro. She would have to work. She would have to work 3 jobs. She would have to work 3 jobs. So we got her down to $8,500, $150 a month. She's good to go. If she pays it off early, great. But her credit's going to be damaged during the time of the proposal. But once the proposal is satisfied, she can start rebuilding her credit. And what she learns about character as it relates to credit during that time that she's paying the proposal, working with me on an annual basis, making sure she doesn't take all that money she saved in paying credit cards. I take some of that money, I put it into RSP for her. I took some of that money, I put it into TFSA for her. I took some of that money and had her save some money for an emergency because she was a non-essential service and we were going through COVID, right? So you got to pay yourself first, right? So we put those things in place for her because she's saving that money. Her credit's already damaged, bro. There's nothing she could do. Had she stayed where she was, her credit was damaged, she'd just be paying more in interest. Now she's not paying the interest. She has a cash flow. Now she can save some money, invest some money, and do some things for herself, her kids, and her grandchildren. So she's happy.
Nice.
The third thing is, here's a little trick. There's a little bank out there called MBNA. MBNA. And MBNA does something better than any other bank in Canada right now. And what they do is they offer a balance transfer at 0% interest, sometimes for 6 months, sometimes for 9 months, sometimes for a year. So if you have a credit card that's licking you down, 21%, 24%, 29%, 19.9%, they will give you the ability to transfer that balance for 3% to them. So they got their fee up front, 3%. So you have $10,000. They're going to take $300 for you to transfer over the money. Yeah. But now you're paying 0% interest. That means every payment you make goes towards bringing the balance down.
Wow. There's a tip right there.
Yeah, MBNA. So back in the day when I was not a financial fighter, financial advisor, right? Shout out to my man out in the East End. We are using some of these tools. Before you go to bankruptcy, look at the proposal. Before you go to proposal, look at the MBNA card. But I'm going to give you 2 things to hammer the debt. There are 2 strategies, really. The first strategy is called avalanche. And avalanche basically says, look at all the credit you have. Who has the highest interest rate? Just juking you down. It's a Bajan word. Juking you down. Right? You get a juke down by a credit card, right? So which credit card or which debt has the highest interest?
Yeah.
This is the one we're going to focus on. Everybody else, right? Everybody else we're going to pay minimum balances on time. Minimum balances on everything else on time. But the money that we were paying on those cards, we're going to take everything on that card and put it on the card with the highest interest rate, and we're going to hammer that card. Okay? So everybody else is not dropping it, but this big one with the big interest, we're getting rid of that first. So if you have anything with these, don't pay a cent, cash money, this and that company, and they're licking you down with big interest, got to get rid of that card. Paying minimums on that is a sucker's game. You got to get rid of that card. So you're going to pay everything, all hands on deck. You make a $15 selling oxtail dinners to construction workers on your street. Take that money and put it against that thing because it is killing you. Remember the rule of 72. 72 divided by the interest rate is how long it's going to take the money to double. If it's a 30% interest rate, 72 divided by 30, whoo, that thing's doubling on you in less than 3 years. You got to get rid of it. So we do avalanche and we put on against the highest interest rate against you, all hands on deck on that card, minimums and everything else until that card's done. Then you find the next card with the highest interest rate, All hands on deck with that one, minimums on the other, until you get yourself to zero. Okay? Stop spending money you don't have. Second strategy, snowball. So snowball says take the card with the smallest balance. So you have 5 cards, 3 cards, 4 cards. This one's 1,000. This one's 5,000. This one's 10,000. Well, if you look at the one that's 10,000, it's going to take you a while to get rid of that card. But if you start with the one that's the smallest card, you get victory this year. So let's say you got $1,000 limit on this card, and the other card's 5,000. The next card's 10,000. By hammering the $1,000 card and paying minimums on the other, that card's now gone. Take the money from that card, go find the next one, the 5,000. All hands on deck for that one, minimums on the big boy. So now the second one, you got victory now in a year. Then all hands on deck on the big one, and now you got rid of the big one. 2 years or 3 years, you're done with the big one. So snowball is find the smallest balance, get victory, feel good about yourself sooner. Avalanche, find the biggest percentage interest rate that you have working against you. Pay everything on that, minimums on everybody else until that guy is taken care of. Both strategies work. Working both strategies in combination also work. What say you, Dr. Vibe? Did you know this before today? Are you today's years old? Learning about
I didn't know about snowball. Snowball avalanche makes me think about James Bond movie. Wasn't there a movie called Snow? I don't know if it was Snowfall. So I said, is he talking James Bond here? You know, this has got us up. But no, didn't know about those strategies. And I'm pretty sure anyone who's watching this live on replay, I'd say the majority did not know about that. That's why we have you here, so you can empower and have people make a decision and take action. Some comments here. Klaus is saying, I'm 42 and credit is so important. I own 4 houses. Keep up your credit card.
Yes, Klaus. Yes.
Finance IQ Cam. Bankruptcy has to be the absolutely last resort. Excuse me, in my opinion. And then Hayden is saying, absolutely no emotions in financing, just knowledge, strategies, and patience is a lesson for me today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Everybody, you're on point. That's why I love the Dr. Vibe Show, because we are bringing the ideas that the community needs to hear that no one's telling us. It's unbelievable how many people are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s that are hearing what I'm saying for the first time. You've been going to the bank your whole life. I'm not telling you anything. Listen, I love the banks and I hate the banks. I love the banks because you can leverage the banks to put yourself in position to win in this thing called life. But the banks also, if you don't ask, they may not tell you, because it's in their best interest for you to pay the highest interest to them at the minimum payment. I know so many people, I meet them, they go, I'm paying the minimum payment. But you have $10,000, you have $20,000 in your savings account. Yeah, I'm paying minimum payments because I was told somewhere by somebody to pay. What? Get rid of it. Right? Anyway, so let's talk about.
Just before we go further, just want to sit and goes, LMIO, not joking.
You don't want to get joked down.
and hello to Dr. Tachi all the way from Florida. Hope things are safe for you in Florida, by the way. I know you did your media scope this week on Wednesday, so I'm speaking that things are okay. So continue on, Wayne.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome. In the United States, they have something called a FICO score. I have to look at what FICO means, but they know what it means. They can Google it and figure out what a FICO score is. But that's basically their credit ratings on the American side.
Yeah,
I'm sure someone can Google that while I'm on here and figure out what FICO is. But the same 900 points that we're looking at, and we're trying to stay north of 7. North of 8 is ideal, but north of 7 is for real. So let's talk about the couple of things you can do, and we'll close it out.
Yep.
1, you must make consistent payments. Do not miss a payment. If you're going to miss a payment, call them and tell them you're going to miss a payment. Call them. Hey, listen, I bought that oxtail. I should not have bought the oxtail. I should have paid you. I'm sorry. I cannot pay this month. I cannot pay the minimum. Just want to let you know. And they'll say, cool. Don't let it happen again. We're not going to ding you, but we're watching. 2, monitor your score. And that's where the apps come in. We're lazy people, ambitiously lazy. So we don't want to be mailing stuff to Equifax and TransUnion. We get the apps, and the apps will tell us we're north of 7, north of 6, whatever, and we feel good about the number. We just check on it every now and then, and they will send you updates. They'll say, hey, your credit score has improved. And your credit score has improved because you paid off something. Maybe you had your financing appliances or something. You finally paid it off. Your credit score will bump because your capacity has increased. Remember we talked about the 5 C's? Capacity has increased, right? Then we look at keep your old accounts. Remember, it counts for 15% of your score. So do not cut cards and get rid of them. You can cut the card and not use it, but do not get rid of the card. Keep the credit history of the card, unless the fees and whatnot don't make sense for you. And again, you can call your institution and say, listen, I want to keep my credit history, but this card's killing me. What can you do to keep the credit history and change cards and see what they can do for you? Pay your rent on time, pay your utilities on time. Right? That means, Roger.
Yeah, and also another thing. Yeah, yes, cell phone company. Yes, that's another
company. Listen, yes, I don't care if Roger's teething. I'm not going to pay them. No, buddy. Listen to me. Rogers will destroy your ability to buy a house and buy a car later on in life if you don't pay them. While you're disputing them, continue to pay your bill. Ladies and gentlemen, while you're disputing your credit card, your cell phone company, continue to pay your bill, because they will put something on your bureau that will lower your credit worthiness. Do not allow them to do that. So fight the good fight. Escalate customer retention, ombudsman, letters, notes, whatever you have to do. But when the bill comes in for $100, pay that bill. If you learn anything today, learn that, because this is where I see, the 24-year-old you, making decisions for the 44-year-old you. Another 44-year-old you can't buy the house in Newcastle or Bowmanville or wherever we're living now because we can't afford the GTA. Avoid maxing out credit, right? Avoid maxing out credit. So you see yourself, again, Eric being Rakim, I didn't know I knew the ledge. Once you start seeing 30, 35%, stop using that card. Stop using that card. Don't go. Now, if it's an emergency, I got to go to Jamaica, my mother's sick, I get it. Go. But as soon as you can get the thing below 35% utilization, get it back there. The other thing you can do is say, listen, I've been paying on time. My credit's good. I've been with this company a little while. Call them up and say, hey, listen, I'd like a credit limit increase.
Well, interesting enough that if you're really good, some banks out there are offering line of credit to people.
And my response to you is this: when they offer it to you, take it. Unless you can't trust yourself to do the right things with it. If you cannot, if your character is low, you're going to get hurt. But the bank has done the math and they say, you know what? Based on payment history, based on monthly payments, based on minimums, this person is doing okay. I'm going to give them another, I think, what's the technical term? Bly. I'm going to give them a bly. I'm going to give them $2,000, $3,000 in extra limit. Why? Because they want you to use their facility.
Yeah.
But guess what? When they increase your limit, when you were at 35% on the $1,000 limit and they give you a $3,000 limit, now you're at 10%. So your utilization dropped because your limit went up, which is good for you, which means your credit will go up, your credit score. Lastly, the balance of your credit utilization. So again, 35%, know the ledge, keep it there, keep it below. Better to get another card and use that rather than go above 35% on the cards that you already have.
Okay.
And that's it, Dr. Vibe. That's credit 101.
You were fine, but we have few more comments here. Fitnant IQ Cam says that's so true with phone companies. Yes, pay your cell phone bill.
Yes.
And then she asks, just to spice things up, what's your view on co-signing?
Well, that's love, eh? Co-signing is love. But co-signing will get you broke. Co-signing will get you broke because The reason the person needs a co-signer is because they have poor character in the eyes of the creditors. So here's what I would do. If you must, let's love, exciting and new, love both. So you're in love and you're going to go co-sign. Hey, make that co-sign a walled garden that that if it goes wrong, you can pay that thing off yourself. And whatever it is you were buying that you had to co-sign on, you actually want. Okay? So someone says, I'm a DJ, I need to buy this equipment, but I need someone to co-sign on to get this MacBook Pro so I can do so-and-so with the Serato and this and that, but you're not a DJ? Maybe I don't co-sign on that because I don't know what to do with that stuff, right? So here's what you can do. Limit your exposure, limit your risk. Hey, I'll co-sign on, 10% of what they're asking for. See how you do. You do well and you pay your bills, you don't damage my credit, maybe I might be able to do more. But you need to prove to me what you have not been able to prove to the creditors. Because the only reason you're coming to me is because the creditors know you're not good for it. So now you're coming to me. Your friend, your wife, your husband, your daughter, your son, your mother, your brother, somebody with poor credit character is coming to you. Limit your risk, limit your exposure. Don't co-sign. I need a car. I'm going to be an Uber driver, and And then they say, I don't want to be an Uber driver no more. And they're out. And now you have a car that you don't need, and it's already depreciated, so you can't sell it for what you bought it for unless you got a really good deal in the auction. So you're upside down. So you have to look at the risk and reward of the cosign. If you're going to get divorced if you don't cosign, maybe you have to cosign. But unless a gun's pointed to your head, I would limit my exposure with cosigning. What I will do is I will get a credit card for that person using my credit, put it in their name, drop a $500 or $1,000 limit on it, and see how they move.
Good point.
Right? So they're reestablishing credit because they're using my credit. I'm taking my credit and wrapping around their bad credit and giving them an opportunity to show me how they're doing. And if they do well, then they can establish their own credit and continue on from there. So that's a little move you can do to limit your exposure, because I'll tell you a story about a person very close to me that co-signed on a car loan for somebody else who said they were going to be doing sales. I'm going to do sales. I need a car. You never sold before. No, I never sold before, but I need a car to do this job. I'm going to go around. I say, don't do it. And me, I love my cartoons. It's a trap, Batman. It's a trap. Don't do it. You know what? They did it. And guess what happened? Trap was sprung within 90 days of that cosigner having access to the vehicle. They said, yeah, I'm out. Didn't work out. Peace. 4 years of payment on a car that we did not own. We had to sell the car at a loss and still had to make payments for 4 years.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So when someone says to me, cosign, what? Show me the receipts that you're worthy of me putting my credit at risk for you. Most times they don't have those receipts. So if they don't have those receipts, make it somebody said it before, make it a logical decision, not an emotional decision, and you will be safe from harm. Okay. Trust me on that.
Great story. Thank you. Sure. Yeah. I don't. What's a home trust credit card?
It's a secondary lender. They have a credit that they will give people with damaged credit. So they're Schedule B bank. Schedule A is a big five. Schedule B, everybody else. And these guys have the ability to they have a lending facility for people who have less than stellar credit that the banks don't want to look at, and you can use their card as well.
Okay, and we got another comment here. Shelly is saying, let's bring it up here. Sheldon White, I don't know who Sheldon White says that there are other reasons that one may need a cosigner. They may not have enough income to purchase a home. For example, it's not complete to suggest they are of bad character.
Okay, Shelly, you are correct in your assessment. I know Sheldon. Shout out to him, Belly. He's a good man. And here's what I'll say about that. So someone wants to buy a house, right? They need a cosigner. Cool. You might be buying too much house, right? Because
Okay.
if you weren't buying too much house, you wouldn't need a cosigner. So I hear you, but but again, if the opportunity at this house is for single family living, that means I'm going to live there, money's coming out. Maybe you don't want to co-sign. But if that house has a basement you can rent, or a secondary or third unit that you can get, and it's going to stretch you as an individual, but you know the income's going to come in, good reason to co-sign, because you can use that extra income to help pay back the person who co-signed with you, or protect yourself from the lack of cash flow that you might suffer because you couldn't sign on your own. So to her point, depends. It depends. And Sheldon's right. There are no absolutes in this game. Once you know the details of the transaction and the deal, then you can make the call as to whether I'm going to co-sign. I would like to co-sign on a multiplex unit, 7 units, 12 units, whatever. Sure, I'll co-sign on that. To buy a single family home in some part of the GTA where the person who's living there is just going to be paying the mortgage, don't know if I'm co-signing on that. But if it's going to generate cash flow,
Revenue.
income, I might co-sign on that. Even if the prices are the same, 1.7 million for a single family home, 1.7 million for a triplex, I'm in on the triplex, bro, because I de-risk myself by each unit that I'm renting.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Fitnan says, they gave you bond with co-signing.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I'll take my bond. All good.
And Klaus says exactly, you are buying too much house. So Klaus agrees with your thought process there.
Yeah.
No, all right.
Well, this is why we're here, to debate for the betterment of the culture.
Yes.
Right. I'm one man with one man's opinions backed up by facts, but if other people have other experiences that make sense, happy to learn and pivot.
Excellent. Well, Wayne, as always, want to thank you and your wife and your family for what you're doing to help the culture.
Yes.
Per se, right? And I flashed it a few times on the screen, but I'll say it verbally. If you want to catch Wayne, email wharris, harrismarketinggroup.net. You can book an appointment, calendly.com/Wayne Harris, and you can find him on Instagram at Wayne Harris World. And I would say thank you to the people who have taken the time to book an appointment with Wayne.
Yes, facts.
Thank you for making a decision and taking action. I have spoken with a few of you, and each one of them says it's been a great benefit. And Wayne has said it's been beneficial for him too. So we want to see everyone win.
I agree. I appreciate the platform, Dr. Vibe. You're doing, you're doing God's work here through your platform. And when this is played, 50 years in the future, someone finds a dusty YouTube link and sees two bald black men talking about credit.
Who's known each other for a long time.
We've known each other for 30 years. I want them to know that what we're doing is the tide. This platform is the tide that raises all ships in all areas of blackness. So credit is just one area that maybe we all get affected by, but we're not all aware of. And I think that this platform is really, really the spot to get what you need across all realms of the culture. So thank you for having it, and I appreciate you having me on.
We're in this together, right? It's not over until we all win.
Yes, sir.
So Hayden says, yes, curry chicken and rice and peas. Everyone jut wrong. And Sheldon White says that Wayne is right. He knows his stuff. He just wanted to share another perspective, and he agrees with the response that some people may be buying too much house.
There you go. See, Billy's a good man. He knows the deal. Okay. I aspire to have a body like his. He eats super clean. I think he's vegan, and he's transformed his body and his life with it in the last 5 years. So shout out to you, sir. You're a good man.
Wonderful. Well, look, we'll let you go. Happy Thanksgiving weekend to you. Best of love to you, the family, the people you serve in your team. Looking forward to having you back next month. Any final comments you'd like to share with the audience?
Yes. Final comments are this. We're about to enter the tunnel of despair. The tunnel of despair is Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Boxing Day and Christmas. Do not let the okie doke of consumerism take over your mind and body and have you online and in these malls spending money you don't have to impress people you don't like. Stop it. Okay? All right, people. Have a good
All
Thanksgiving.
right. Wonderful. Take care. Be well and keep the faith. All right, family. Wonderful conversation today. Again, whether you caught it live on the read and here we go. Fitness, IQ Cam. Once again, amazing Wayne. There you go. So that's why we want to improve it for all of you. There's his contact information. So again, thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time. So let's do a few things. So if you want to catch replays of the Morning Vibe, you can go to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and Facebook, Afro-Caribbean Business Network, Facebook and YouTube, and Ryan Oneil Knight on YouTube. All right, some other things. Would you like to promote your business or service on our show? Please contact me, Dr. Vibe at the Dr. Vibe Show. Also want to say again, a big shout out to Ebony Occasions for sponsoring this episode of the Morning Vibe. You can catch Ebony Occasions at ebonyoccasions.com and then on Instagram at Ebony Occasions. And if you want to touch base with me, here are the different places. Website, thedrvibeshow.com, email dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com, YouTube and Facebook, The Dr. Vibe Show, Twitter, The Dr. Vibe Show, and Instagram at the drvibeshow.com. Let's see. I got one more comment I think we got in here. And Klaus is saying, thank you. And I say, you're welcome. All right. So coming up, this is Thanksgiving Day weekend, but I am broadcasting live tomorrow night because we have State of Things, Aisha K. Staggers, Jill Jones, and Laura Lala Key. They're based in the U.S., so it's not a long weekend for them. Their Thanksgiving is next month in November, and they'll be giving their takes mainly about political goings-on in the United States of America. And so that I think we'll be doing a replay of Black Canada Talking on Sunday. And then on Monday, depending how Ryan is feeling, and just want to tell you, Ryan is not here because he's not been feeling well the last few days. So if you do pray or do say a good word that Ryan recovers health-wise, and we're speaking that he'll be back. If he's good on Monday, I'm going to encourage if we can do a live show on Monday. We haven't done a live show, just him and I, just chatting and catching about things. Ask us anything on Monday. So this is how we're going to leave it today, family. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace. And also, just don't manage your time, manage your energy. If you're in Canada, have a great Thanksgiving Day weekend. If you're in the United States, have a great weekend. And just get better each day, a little bit better each day, and give yourself grace. God bless. Peace well, keep the faith, and walk good.